The day Henry arrived, the atmosphere in the house shifted. Edwin had gone to pick him up from the airport while Kamsi sat nervously in her room, running her fingers over the fabric of her dress. She had no idea what to expect. When Edwin and Henry entered the house, Angela and Talia were sitting in the living room. "Welcome," Angela said with a fake smile. Talia barely looked up from her phone. "Thank you," Henry replied politely. He was tall, with a deep, soothing voice. His presence alone was commanding, and the air around him felt different. Angela observed him closely. "So, this is the guy from Dubai," she muttered under her breath. Ignoring her, Edwin turned to Henry. "Come, let me introduce you to Kamsi." Henry nodded, following Mr. Edwin. When they reached Kamsi's room, Edwin knocked gently. "Kamsi, we're here." She took a deep breath before responding. "Come in." Henry stepped inside and saw her sitting quietly on the bed, her long, dark hair cascading over her shoulders. Even though she was blind, there was something striking about her. She had delicate features and an air of quiet strength. "Kamsi, this is Henry," Edwin said. She turned slightly in his direction and managed a small smile. "Hello." Henry took a step closer. "It's nice to meet you, Kamsi." "Same here," she whispered. For a moment, there was silence. Henry studied her, and something about her vulnerability touched him deeply. He had met many women, but there was something different about Kamsi. "She's beautiful," Henry said suddenly. Kamsi's head jerked up. She hadn't expected that. Edwin smiled. "You can say that again." Henry chuckled. "I see why my brother Dr. Larry wanted me to meet her." Angela, who had been eavesdropping outside, felt her chest tighten with anger. This blind girl? This was the woman Henry was supposed to marry? Over her own daughter, Talia? She clenched her fists and stormed back to the living room, where Talia was still on her phone. "This nonsense must stop," she hissed. Talia glanced up. "What now?" "Your father wants Henry Dr. Larry's brother to marry Kamsi." Talia sat up. "What? That blind girl?" "Yes." Angela spat. "And if we don't do something fast, this will happen right under our noses." Talia's eyes darkened. "We have to stop it." Angela smirked. "Leave it to me." Meanwhile, in Kamsi's room, Henry was still talking to her, asking about her interests, her childhood, and how she had been coping. "I admire your strength," he said after a while. "I know life hasn't been easy for you." Kamsi smiled sadly. "It hasn't, but I keep moving forward." Henry nodded. "That's the kind of woman I want by my side." Kamsi's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Henry reached for her hand gently. "Would you consider being my wife, Kamsi?" She gasped. Henry's words left Kamsi in shock. She wasn't expecting this, at least not so soon. She swallowed hard, trying to process everything. You want to marry me?" she asked in a shaky voice. "Yes," Henry said firmly. "I know this may seem sudden, but my brother, Dr. Larry, has told me so much about you. And now that I've met you, I can see why he admires you." Kamsi's fingers tightened around the fabric of her dress. She shook her head slowly. "But Henry, I am blind. I don't understand why you would want to marry me when there are so many other women." Henry interrupted her. "Kamsi, your blindness does not define you. I am not here out of pity. I came all the way from Dubai because I wanted to meet you. And now that I have, I'm even more certain that you are the kind of woman I want in my life." Kamsi was speechless. She had spent so many nights crying over her condition, believing no man would ever want her. And now, here was Henry, offering her something she had never imagined. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to answer now," Henry said gently. "Take your time and think about it. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Just then, Edwin cleared his throat. "I think that's enough for tonight. Kamsi, get some rest." Henry nodded. "Yes, I should let you rest. But please, think about what I said." Kamsi nodded slowly. "I will." After Henry and Edwin left the room, Kamsi sat on her bed, her heart pounding. Could this really be happening? Meanwhile, in the living room, Angela was pacing angrily. Talia sat with her arms crossed, looking frustrated. This can't happen, Mom. Henry is rich, handsome, and successful. How can he choose Kamsi over me? Angela's lips curled in a smirk. Don't worry, my dear. This marriage will never happen. I have a plan. Talia leaned forward. What plan? Angela's eyes darkened. We are going to make sure that Kamsi herself rejects Henry. And by the time we are done, Henry will have no choice but to see you as the only woman for him. Talia grinned. Now, that's what I want to hear. The following morning, Kamsi woke up with a strange feeling in her heart. She had spent the whole night thinking about Henry's words. Could she really marry him? Could she allow herself to love when she had never imagined such a possibility for herself? She was still deep in thought when Angela knocked on her door and walked in without waiting for an answer. Kamsi, Angela said in a sugary voice, something unusual for her. Good morning, my dear. Kamsi immediately knew something was wrong. Angela had never spoken to her this kindly before. Good morning, Auntie, she replied carefully. Angela sat on the edge of the bed and sighed. I have been thinking about you, Kamsi. About your future. Kamsi frowned. My future? Yes, my dear, Angela said, taking Kamsi's hand in hers. You see, I know Henry is interested in you. But I just want you to be careful. Men like Henry, they don't truly love women like you. Kamsi's heart clenched. What do you mean? Angela sighed dramatically. Henry is only saying all these things out of pity. You're a blind girl, Kamsi. He just wants to feel good about himself by marrying you. But do you really think a man like Henry, rich, handsome, successful, would choose you over all the beautiful women out there? Kamsi felt as though her chest had been pierced with a knife. She swallowed hard, fighting back tears. I don't know. Angela patted her hand. I don't want you to get your hopes up only to be hurt in the end. If you love yourself, you will reject Henry before he changes his mind and embarrasses you. Kamsi bit her lip. She had already been afraid that Henry's proposal was too good to be true. Was Angela right? Was he only doing this out of pity? Angela stood up. Think about what I have said, Kamsi. I only want what's best for you. As soon as she left, Talia walked in. Unlike her mother, she didn't even try to hide her disdain. You better not think you're special, she spat. Henry is mine. I don't know what charm you used, but I will make sure you don't take what belongs to me. Kamsi was too hurt to respond. She was already drowning in her own thoughts. Later that day, Henry called to check on her. His voice was warm and filled with concern. How are you, Kamsi? Kamsi hesitated. Angela's words echoed in her mind. He's only doing this out of pity. I'm fine, she said in a small voice. Henry sighed. You don't sound fine. Kamsi, is something wrong? She clenched her fist. Should she tell him what Angela had said? Or should she listen to her aunt's warning and reject him before it was too late? His heart clenched. He didn't know why, but he felt like she was slipping away from him. Kamsi, please talk to me, he urged gently. If something is wrong, I want to know. Kamsi bit her lip, unsure of what to say. She could feel the sincerity in Henry's voice, but Angela's words kept ringing in her ears. Henry, she started hesitantly. Are you sure you're not doing this out of pity? Henry froze. He wasn't expecting that question. Pity, he repeated. Yes, Kamsi said, swallowing hard. I don't want to be someone's charity case. If you're doing this just because you feel sorry for me, please don't. Henry exhaled sharply. He was furious, not at Kamsi, but at whoever had put this thought in her mind. Kamsi, listen to me, he said firmly. If this was about pity, I wouldn't have asked to marry you. I wouldn't have come all the way to Nigeria just to see you. Kamsi remained silent, but Henry could sense her doubt. I know people might say things, Henry continued, his voice softening. But I want you to trust me. I like you, Kamsi. I admire your strength, your kindness, your heart. Your blindness does not define you. It doesn't make you any less of a woman. Tears welled up in Kamsi's eyes. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. For so long, she had believed that her blindness made her unworthy of love. Could Henry truly see her differently? Before she could respond, the door to her room suddenly burst open. It was Angela. "Kamsi, what are you doing?" she shouted. "Who are you talking to?" Kamsi panicked and quickly ended the call. Angela stormed inside, her eyes burning with anger. "So you are really trying to trap Henry," she sneered. "You want to marry him and disgrace this family?" Kamsi's heart pounded. "Auntie, Shut up," Angela snapped. "You better put an end to whatever you're thinking. I won't let you bring shame to this house." Talia appeared at the door, smirking. "Mom, don't stress yourself. Henry will soon see Kamsi for who she really is. He will leave her, just like every other man." Kamsi felt like her heart was being torn apart. Kamsi sat frozen on the bed, her fingers clutching the bedsheet as if holding on for strength. Angela's words cut deep, but it was Talia's mocking tone that made her chest tighten with pain. "Henry will leave you, just like every other man." Those words echoed in her mind, but somewhere deep inside, a tiny voice whispered, "What if he doesn't? What if he's different?" Angela folded her arms, her eyes burning with anger. "Listen to me, Kamsi. I will not allow you to drag this family into shame. Do you think Henry's family will accept a blind wife for him? Do you think his mother will watch her son marry someone like you?" Talia snickered. "Please, Kamsi, stop deceiving yourself. You should know your place." Kamsi swallowed the lump in her throat, her hands trembling. Every insult, every rejection she had faced in the past threatened to drown her. She wanted to scream, to tell them they were wrong, but what if they were right? Angela took a step closer. "I'm warning you, end whatever nonsense you have with Henry. If you don't, I will personally make sure this marriage never happens." With that, she turned and stormed out of the room. Talia gave Kamsi one last smirk before following her mother, leaving the room in painful silence. Kamsi felt the warm tears slide down her cheeks. A heavy feeling of hopelessness settled in her chest. Maybe she was truly foolish to think someone like Henry could love her. But then, her phone vibrated. She hesitated before reaching for it. Henry. Her heart pounded as she answered the call. "Hello. Kamsi, what happened? You cut the call so suddenly. Are you okay?" Henry's voice was full of concern. Kamsi opened her mouth to speak, but the words got stuck in her throat. She wanted to tell him everything, but fear held her back. I'm fine," she whispered. Henry was silent for a moment, then he said, "I don't believe you. Kamsi, please tell me what's wrong." She wiped her tears, forcing herself to sound normal. "It's nothing. I need to rest." Henry sighed. "All right, I won't force you. But please, promise me you won't listen to anyone trying to discourage you." Kamsi's breath caught. Did he know? "I don't know what people have told you, but I need you to trust me," Henry continued. "I will be in Nigeria in 2 days. And when I come, I'll prove to you that I'm serious about us." Kamsi's heart pounded. 2 days. Henry was coming.
2 days felt like an eternity for Kamsi. Every second dragged on, filled with anxiety, doubt, and a tiny flicker of hope she didn't dare acknowledge. Angela and Talia had not spoken to her since their confrontation, but their silence was even more suffocating than their words. Mr. Edwin had noticed the tension in the house. That evening, as they sat for dinner, he cleared his throat and said, "I spoke to Henry today. He'll be landing tomorrow." Kamsi's heart skipped a beat. Tomorrow. It was happening. Angela stabbed her fork into her food, her expression tight. "So, it's true then? You're really pushing this nonsense forward?" Mr. Edwin sighed. "Angela, I have made my decision." Angela let out a bitter laugh. "Your decision? Have you even thought about how this will affect our family? Have you thought about Henry's family? Do you think they will accept this?" "I have spoken to Dr. Larry," Mr. Edwin replied calmly. "His family has no problem with Henry marrying Kamsi." Angela scoffed. "Oh really? Let's see what happens when his mother arrives and sees the girl her son wants to marry." Kamsi clenched her fists under the table, feeling like an invisible force was squeezing her chest. She had always known Angela never liked her, but this was something else. Talia smirked. Kamsi, don't get too excited. Henry might change his mind when he sees you this time. Talia. Mr. Edwin snapped. Enough. Talia rolled her eyes, but she said nothing else. Kamsi lowered her head, pushing her food around on her plate. She had lost her appetite. That night, as she lay on her bed, she replayed Henry's words in her head. Trust me. Could she? Would he really choose her over everything else? Or was this all just a dream that would shatter the moment reality set in? The next morning, Kamsi woke up with a mixture of nerves and excitement. She barely got any sleep, thinking about what Henry would say when he meets her this time around. Would he still want to marry her? Or would he take one look at her and change his mind? Angela and Talia moved around the house in irritation, making it clear they wanted nothing to do with whatever was about to happen. Mr. Edwin, on the other hand, had already gone to the airport to pick up Henry. Kamsi sat quietly in her room, running her fingers over the fabric of her dress. She had chosen a simple blue gown, one of the few decent ones she had. She had brushed her hair neatly, but her hands trembled every time she thought about meeting Henry. A few hours later, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway made her heart race. She heard the front door open, followed by footsteps and the deep voice of Mr. Edwin greeting his wife. Good afternoon, Mrs. Angela, Henry greeted. Angela's voice came next, cold and unimpressed. Welcome. Talia giggled. You actually came. Kamsi's stomach tightened. Then she heard another voice. It was deep, smooth, and confident. Of course, I came. I told Kamsi I would. Something about the way he said her name made her heart skip a beat. Mr. Edwin spoke again. Let me call Kamsi. Kamsi quickly stood up as she heard his footsteps approaching. A gentle knock on the door followed. Kamsi, he's here. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stand tall. She reached for her walking stick, took a deep breath, and walked toward the door. As she stepped into the living room, she could feel everyone's eyes on her. She swallowed hard. Then, a warm hand gently took hers. Hello, Kamsi. It was him. Henry. His voice was softer now, kinder. Kamsi felt her lips part slightly. Hello, she whispered. There was a pause, a silence filled with something she couldn't describe. Then Henry said, Can we sit and talk? Kamsi nodded, letting him guide her to the couch. Angela and Talia watched from the side, their expressions unreadable. But Kamsi didn't care. For the first time in a long time, she felt something strange. Hope. Henry sat across from Kamsi, watching her closely. Her beauty was undeniable, smooth, dark skin, full lips, and a quiet elegance that made her presence feel warm despite the tension in the room. But it wasn't just her beauty that caught his attention. It was the way she carried herself despite everything she had been through. Angela and Talia sat off to the side, clearly irritated by his interest in Kamsi. Mr. Edwin, however, leaned back in his chair, studying Henry's reaction. Henry cleared his throat. I know this must feel strange, Kamsi, he began. But I want you to know that I didn't come here out of pity. This is my second time coming here, just to show you how much you mean to me. Kamsi nodded slowly, gripping the edge of her dress. I don't know what to say. Henry smiled. You don't have to say anything yet. I just want us to get to know each other. Angela scoffed, rolling her eyes. What's there to know? She's blind. She can't even take care of herself. Henry's expression darkened. With all due respect, I didn't ask for your opinion. Angela's mouth fell open slightly, but she quickly turned away in anger. Talia let out a small laugh but said nothing. Mr. Edwin cleared his throat. Henry, why don't you take Kamsi outside for a walk? You two can talk more privately. Henry nodded. That's a good idea. Kamsi hesitated. I don't know the way outside very well. Henry gently took her hand. Then let me guide you. Her breath caught at the kindness in his voice. Slowly, she let him lead her out of the house and into the warm evening air. The breeze was soft against her skin. She tilted her face slightly upward, breathing in the fresh scent of the night. Henry walked beside her, his steps slow so she could keep up. Tell me about yourself, Kamsi. What do you love? What makes you happy? Kamsi was silent for a moment. No one had ever asked her that before. I love music, she finally said. When I was younger, my father used to play songs for me every evening. I could always tell how he was feeling by the kind of music he played. Henry smiled. That's beautiful. Do you sing? Kamsi blushed. A little. Will you sing for me someday? She hesitated, then nodded shyly. Maybe. Henry chuckled. I'll hold you to that. They walked in silence for a while, the night wrapping around them like a quiet promise. All she knew was that, for the first time in a long time, the future didn't seem so dark. It felt like a door was opening. And for the first time, Kamsi wondered if she had the courage to step through it. Kamsi lay awake that night, her heart pounding. Henry's words echoed in her mind. She had never expected something like this. Not after everything she had been through. She turned onto her side, running her fingers over the soft fabric of her blanket. What did Henry see in her? She was blind, dependent on others, and had nothing to offer him. And yet, there was something in his voice, something genuine. For the first time in a long time, she felt wanted, not out of pity, but out of something deeper. The next morning, Kamsi stepped into the living room, guided by her walking stick. She could hear whispers. Angela and Talia were talking about her. Can you imagine? Talia sneered. A man like Henry, wanting to marry her? Angela scoffed. I don't know what spell she cast, but it won't last. No man wants a blind wife. Kamsi's grip tightened on her stick, but she kept her face calm. She had learned a long time ago that reacting only gave people more power over her. A deep voice interrupted them. If you two are done talking about my future wife, I'd appreciate it. Silence filled the room. Henry. Kamsi's breath hitched as she turned her head slightly in his direction. Angela let out a nervous laugh. Henry, we were just. Henry cut her off. I know exactly what you were doing. And I don't appreciate it. Talia folded her arms. Are you really serious about this? About her? Henry's voice was firm. Yes. And I won't tolerate any disrespect toward her. Kamsi felt her chest tighten. No one had ever defended her like this before. Angela huffed and stormed out of the room, Talia following behind her. Henry stepped closer to Kamsi. Are you okay? Kamsi nodded. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be. His voice was gentle but firm. She sighed. Henry, why me? He took a deep breath. Because I see something in you, Kamsi. Strength, kindness, resilience. I don't care that you're blind. I care about who you are. Tears pricked her eyes. She had spent so long believing she was unworthy of love. Maybe Henry was different. Maybe he really meant it. But was she ready to take that risk? She wasn't sure. But for the first time, she wanted to try. One evening, Henry bought a luxurious dress for Kamsi and asked her to join him for a dinner date. Before she could even process his request or think of what to say, her uncle, Mr. Edwin, quickly responded with excitement. She will go with you for the dinner date, he said, a wide smile spreading across his face. Kamsi, however, wasn't too sure about it. She hesitated, but seeing how much her uncle wanted her to go, she nodded softly. Later that evening, she dressed in the beautiful luxury dress Henry had bought for her. The fabric felt smooth under her fingers, making her wonder how it looked on her. With her walking stick in hand, she allowed Henry to guide her to the car, and soon, they arrived at an upscale restaurant. The atmosphere was warm, filled with the soft sound of music and clinking glasses. Henry led her to their table, his heart pounding in his chest. As they finished their meal, he suddenly reached into his pocket, got down on one knee, and took out a sparkling diamond ring. Kamsi, he said in a deep, emotional voice, will you marry me? Kamsi froze. Her heart pounded in her chest as she struggled to process the moment. She didn't know whether to accept or reject his proposal. Was this real? Did he truly want to spend his life with her despite her blindness? Tears welled up in her unseeing eyes. After a long pause, she stretched out her trembling hand and whispered, yes, I will marry you. A wave of relief and joy washed over Henry. He gently slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and pulled her into a warm embrace. "I'm so happy," he murmured. As they held each other, and for the first time in a long while, Kamsi felt something she never thought possible: hope. As Henry embraced Kamsi, he felt the warmth of her body trembling slightly in his arms. He pulled back gently and cupped her face. "You won't regret this, Kamsi," he whispered. "I promise to take care of you, to love you, and to be your eyes when you need me." Kamsi let out a shaky breath. I never thought someone would want me like this," she admitted. Henry smiled. "Then you don't know how special you are." The restaurant guests, noticing the beautiful proposal, clapped and cheered. Some even wiped away tears at the emotional moment. Kamsi could feel the attention on them, but for the first time, she didn't feel like an object of pity. She felt loved. They sat back down, and Henry reached for her hand, rubbing gentle circles on her palm. "You don't have to worry about anything, my love. I will make sure you are happy." Kamsi nodded, still overwhelmed by emotions. She never expected her life to take such a turn. Just years ago, she had lost her sight and felt hopeless. And now, here she was engaged to a man who saw her beyond her blindness. As they left the restaurant, Henry guided her carefully to the car. The night air was cool, and she inhaled deeply, trying to calm her racing heart. When they arrived home, Mr. Edwin was waiting anxiously. The moment he saw the ring on Kamsi's finger, he let out a laugh of joy. "I knew it. I knew this day would come." Kamsi's aunt, however, stood with folded arms, her expression unreadable. Angela and Talia, who had just entered the room, gasped at the sight of the diamond ring on Kamsi's finger. Angela scoffed. "This is unbelievable." Talia eyed Kamsi with envy. "How did you do it? What charm did you use?" Henry stepped forward, his tone firm. "Kamsi doesn't need charms to be loved. She is more than enough just the way she is." Kamsi swallowed hard. She knew this was only the beginning. Not everyone would be happy about her engagement. But as Henry held her hand tightly, she felt a kind of security she had never known before. Little did she know, trouble was already brewing. That night, Kamsi lay on her bed, holding her hand over her chest as if to calm the rapid beating of her heart. She traced her fingers over the smooth diamond ring on her finger, still struggling to believe it was real. Henry had proposed. He had chosen her, despite everything. But something deep inside her whispered that things would not be this easy.